Namaste.
Vanakkam.
Namaskaram.
What's up guys, I'm Simon from Phonestein and this here is the Redmi 8A Dual, and in this video we will be doing the video review for this smartphone. Now before starting the review, I just want to say that there are few people who compare a 7,000 rupee mobile with a 15,000, 13,000 rupee device, and that is totally wrong. So please don't do that. Those are phones at different categories. This here is aimed at a different category of people. So please don't mix them both. With that said, let us start off with the build slash design. Now when you compare the Redmi 8A Dual to its predecessor, the Redmi 7A, I think this here is a huge upgrade. Now the design immediately feels like so enriched. Now I have personally given this phone to a few of my friends to take a look at, and they were initially impressed by how well the phone looked, and they definitely did not believe that this was a 7,000 rupee device, because the build quality is like really solid, even though the back is made out of plastic. So as you can see here, this is plastic, but it is a very solid one. And talking about design, and Xiaomi calls it the Aura X grip. Now I have to say this grip design is amazing. Now I have been using this without the case ever since, and I have been very confident about holding this device without any kind of protection. And even the form factor, so the overall size of the phone is not too big. Now I compared this with my OnePlus 5, and I have to say both are nearly similar. In fact, the Redmi 8A Dual is slightly narrower than the OnePlus 5. So using it with one hand, I mean, I'm not talking about the reachability, but one hand usage, you can comfortably hold it in one hand, make calls and things like that, and that is amazing. Now the design and build of the Redmi 8A Dual is awesome, but how about the display? So this here is a 6.2-inch HD plus display. Now this here is a 7,000 rupee device, and you definitely should not expect a full HD display. That will come sometime in the near future, but for now HD plus is the resolution that you are going to get with sub 8,000 rupee smartphones. But I have to say, even though this here is a HD plus display, it is a really nice LCD display, and surprisingly Xiaomi has managed to put Corning Gorilla Glass 5 for the display in terms of protection. Now that is a great thing, so keys and all are not going to easily scratch the display when you put them in your pocket. And as for the display, this here is not nearly completely bezel-less, but still the bezels are relatively thin, and that too for a 7,000 rupee device. I think it looks pretty damn good. Now yes, you have kind of a bottom chin with the Redmi logo, but I think that is fine, and it has a very small notch on the top, which is not too obtrusive. Now even though this here is a nice LCD display, it definitely has few drawbacks. Number one is that you cannot watch YouTube videos at 1080p, so it is capped at 720p, which is kind of a bummer. And the second thing is that of course with 720p you lose quality. Yes, you lose that resolution, and that is evident when you watch YouTube videos and especially play games. But in day-to-day use, I think the display was very good, and I didn't feel much of a difference compared to 1080p displays. And of course you will definitely feel the difference, but considering the price, you really can't argue. So talking about the performance, I have to say this here is a really smooth performing device, but make sure you don't put like heavy games and thrash it to its knees. Please don't do that. If you're not doing that, then this here is a really smooth device. By no means is the Redmi 8A Dual meant for heavy gaming and things like that, but for day-to-day use, like if you're browsing web a lot, you're using social media apps a lot, in fact any apps, those work really well on this. Now this runs on Android 9 Pie with the MIUI skin on top of it, and surprisingly it has been very smooth. Now the specs are not that impressive. It has a Snapdragon 439 with 3 gigs of RAM. Yes, I have the 3 gig RAM variant here, which costs 7,000 rupees. So it is not something spectacular, but Xiaomi has managed to come up with a very stable device, and kudos to Xiaomi for that. But for those who still are like very concerned about will this be able to game, I have made a dedicated gaming review for that. So links to that will be in the card somewhere up here, and it'll also be in the description below. So make sure you check it out because I've played PUBG on this device. So make sure you watch that to see how it performs. So if you're a person who wants this as a secondary device to do your day-to-day tasks, or you're gifting this to someone who's going to use it for the very first time, or going to use a smartphone for the very first time, then it is going to be a really nice experience for them. They are not going to experience any sort of lag or terrible user experience with this. But make sure you disable ads and all those unwanted notifications before handing it over to them. Now talking about the camera. Now I told I'll make a dedicated review, but I didn't get the Realme C3 in hand, and that's the reason I didn't make a dedicated review, because I really wanted to compare it with the C3 but I couldn't, so sorry for that. But as a standalone camera, I think this is pretty decent. Now if you want to take quick shots, like you can just open the camera, click. Yes, it takes some time to process, but other than that, I think you are pretty much good to go. Now if you want to capture any still image under very good lighting, I mean like very good lighting, then the pictures turn out good. Now of course, please don't expect any kind of high details or high dynamic range or amazing features like this on a 7,000 rupee device. That is unrealistic expectations. For 7,000 rupee, I think the camera is like pretty good. The video quality is okayish. Now the front facing camera is an 8 megapixel camera, so give it more light to take a photo than the photos that you take. So mostly selfies are going to be good. Now they're not going to be very sharp or ultra detailed, but they are going to be really good, and this camera you can definitely use for taking selfies and posting it on social media. So overall, in terms of the camera, I am going to be considering the fact that this here is a 7,000 rupee device which has a dual camera setup with a 13 megapixel camera and 2 megapixel depth sensor, where the depth sensor actually doesn't do justice, I mean that much, but having that is still good. And for that price, I think this here is a pretty decent, or rather say you can also say good camera. You can use it, of course you can post on social media, but don't expect anything more than that. So Xiaomi focused a lot on the battery life, and I have to say this here has one of the best battery lives on any smartphone under the 10,000 rupee price range. Yes, this has a 5000 mAh battery and the battery life was pretty good, and I could easily get 2 days. But consider that you are somehow playing games on this, you can still end the day with juice left for say nearly quarter or half of the next day. So that's how good the battery life on the Xiaomi Redmi 8A Dual is. And especially MIUI surprisingly doesn't drain a lot of battery, and I have done intensive tests, like I've run synthetic benchmarks again and again, and the battery drain was very minimal. Since this here is a 720p display, the battery doesn't need to work as much to power all these pixels. In terms of the battery life, the Xiaomi Redmi 8A Dual is amazing. And fun fact, you get USB-C. So when you compare this with the Realme C3, I think this here, might be one of the biggest advantages the Redmi 8A Dual has, because the Realme C3 has a micro USB charging port and it has only a 10-watt fast charger, whereas this has USB-C and an 18-watt fast charger. And I think Xiaomi has killed it, especially in terms of small things. So attention to detail, things like these make users more happy. So last but not least, there are a few things that I wanted to say. Now it has a headphone jack, bonus points there. The speakers are loud, but definitely not that clear, but they are definitely loud. The placements of the buttons are actually quite nice. The power button is exactly located where your finger you can reach, things like that, and they are really tactile. Now as for security, this doesn't have any fingerprint sensor, but rather it has face unlock. This is not, of course, not the 3D kind where it scans your face, nothing like that. It just takes an image of yourself and that is used to unlock your device. So the face unlock in this works quite well. It is accurate most of the times, but it is not as quick as your OnePlus devices, but still it is nice to have. Now we've come to the conclusion. The Redmi 8A Dual is an amazing device. Now I have the 3GB variant and that costs around 7,000 Indian rupees, and for that price I have to say this here is an amazing deal. Now even when compared to the Realme C3, I have to say based just on specs, this here is a much better device. But who is this device for? So let me explain. Now if you want to gift your parents and your parents are coming from a feature phone like your old keypad phones and they are moving to a smartphone for the very first time, I think there is no other better device than the Redmi 8A Dual to buy them. Now the main reason why this here is a much better option when compared to the competition is that it has a much better build and design. It has a very good battery life. The performance is smooth and MIUI is much more refined now, but again make sure you disable the ads. And for beginners, this camera is a sweet point to begin from. And it also has other features like face unlock, it has 18-watt fast charging, things like that, which also spices up the appeal factor of the Redmi 8A Dual. Now the Redmi 8A Dual also has another use case for those who want a secondary device which will perform well and amazing battery life. For those people, the Redmi 8A Dual is one good option to go from. Yes, it is a 7,000 rupee device and I think for that price it is a pretty good deal. So please don't compare it with other devices which cost 10,000, 12,000 rupees. It makes no sense. Now the purchase link for the Redmi 8A Dual is in the description below, so make sure you check it out. And I've started an Instagram page as you know, and also have a new Twitter page, so make sure you follow me there, because once we hit 10,000 subscribers it is going to be double the dhamaka time. So thanks for watching, and this here is Suman signing off once again. Catch you later.